Welcome everyone to this session about temporary access pass. Is it the key for unlocking passwordless authentication in our Microsoft 365 environment? After the India Cloud Security Summit, there will be a raffle for the attendees of this session, where you will have a chance to win a YubiKey 5 NFC, the USB-A one. The winners will be contacted via email after the event has concluded. Quick introduction about myself. My name is Viktor Hedberg. I work as a cybersecurity consultant slash cybersecurity advisor at TrueSec, based in Sweden. I've been working with identity and access management and IT security within the Microsoft hemisphere for the past 8 or 9 years. I am a Microsoft certified trainer, an avid community contributor, and yeah, that's a quick introduction about myself. So let's dive into the topic, temporary access pass. Before we see how it works and what its components are and how to configure these, let's take a quick dive into what is temporary access pass. A temporary access pass is a time-limited passcode that serves as a strong credential, and it's meant to, solve the onboarding and recovery and forgot scenarios that we're currently wrestling with. The details of a temporary access pass are as follows. They can be scoped to users and groups. You do have a configurable lifetime on a temporary access pass. The default one is 1 hour, but you can turn it down to as small as 10 minutes. And the maximum lifetime is 30 days. So right here, we're starting to see a pattern to solve the onboarding scenarios, right? Where we can issue a temporary access pass prior to an employee starting on your corporation or your company in the same time that you're creating the user account, basically. We can set the pass to be either a one-time use, a kind of use and burn kind of deal, or it could be set as multiple use. The default one here is multiple, and I strongly recommend that you set this setting to one-time use only, because we don't want to, same as with passwords, we don't want to share them with anyone other than ourselves. So yeah, that's my 5 cents on whether or not it should be multiple use or single use. The length of the temporary access pass can be anywhere between 8 to 48 characters. And these are all randomly generated by the Azure portal for us. So we don't have to, come up with any kind of phrase that it would match or anything. It's just 8 to 48 randomly suggested characters. We do have some role-based access control measures to take to this technology. As you can see, a global administrator can create, delete, and view a temporary access pass on any user except themselves. When I say view, we can see if a temporary access pass has been issued to a user. We can't see the actual pass itself. We'll come back to that later on. Same goes for privileged authentication administrators. They can create, delete, and view if a pass has been issued on admins and members. You see the difference here is that global administrators can do it on any user, but a privileged authentication administrator cannot perform this on themselves or any global admins, right? Authentication administrators, same kind of deal, but only on member users in this scenario. So we can't use it on guests. An authentication administrator can't issue a temporary access pass for any other admins. They're only for users in this context. As I said, global administrators can view the temporary access pass details on the user, but not the code itself. The policy for temporary access pass is configurable either using the Azure portal or the Microsoft Graph API. Other details, the configurable start time, we can say that this temporary access pass should not become enabled until 8 o'clock this evening or even 9 o'clock next day, right? So we can choose when the timer starts on the temporary access pass. The lifetime is configurable as well, up until the policy max lifetime. So if the policy states that the lifetime maximum is 30 days, we can choose that a temporary access pass is valid for from 10 minutes up until 30 days, basically. And these are configurable for each temporary access pass that are issued. And just a repetition, the pass may or may not be used multiple times during its lifetime. So that covers the basics of what temporary access pass is. Let's look into how does it work. And this is a click-through kind of demo, so you'll just see the basis for how does the temporary access pass flow work in each scenario. So in this scenario, we have a user here. This user signs into the Azure Active Directory sign-in prompt, as illustrated here. Instead of being asked for your password or getting a notification on your mobile device saying that you're trying to sign in, would you allow this or not? You just get this this entry which states that enter your temporary access pass. You enter the temporary access pass, after which you can sign into the aka.ms my security info to add or edit any currently present authentication methods on your account. So how do we enable this in our tenant? Let me just switch over to my Azure portal and we'll make sure to see how that would look. So here we are signed into my Azure environment. We're in Azure Active Directory under security and authentication methods. And here you can see temporary access pass, this policy here, where we could either enable or disable. We could target this policy to cover either all users or specific users. And under the configure blade, we can configure the minimum lifetime, maximum lifetime, default lifetime, whether or not it's a one-time temporary access pass, and the preferred length of the temporary access pass. And that's all there is to it, basically. So if you sign into your Azure Active Directory right now, today, you'll see this temporary access pass preview settings in your tenant. And to enable it, as I said, just toggle the switch to yes, which will enable it. You can scope the rollout if you want to. As I said, this is a demo environment, so I have like 15 users to adhere to. Okay, let's take a look back at our presentation. And that's how to enable temporary access pass. It's basically a next finish kind of deal, right? Limitations. As I said, this is a preview feature, which means there are some limitations to temporary access pass at this current state. These are all taken from Microsoft Docs, so they're Microsoft's words, not mine. And I excuse for the wall of text coming to hit you right in the face, right? But when using a one-time temporary access pass to register a passwordless method, such as YubiKey, FIDO2 token of any kind, you need to complete the registration within 10 minutes of signing with a one-time temporary access pass. This limitation does not apply to a pass which is issued with the multiple use one. So once you've signed in, you have 10 minutes to configure your FIDO2 token, basically. Guest users can't sign in with a temporary access pass as of now. The feature in itself is in public preview, and it's currently not available in Azure for United States government. Users that are in scope for self-service password reset registration or identity protection multi-factor authentication registration, any of these policies will be required to register authentication methods after they've signed in with temporary access pass, right? So this is the default scenario. So you sign in with your temporary access pass, you immediately get prompted to add your authenticator app, your mobile phone number, anything like that. The temporary access pass, as of now, cannot be used with the NPS extension and Active Directory Federation Services adapter, or during Windows setup, out-of-the-box experience, and autopilot. When seamless SSO, seamless single sign-on, is enabled on your tenant, the users are prompted to enter a password instead of the temporary access pass. The sign in a different way. I can't use my authenticator link that's right under the password box on your usual sign in page. This will instead say, I want to sign in with my temporary access pass instead. My demo environment is cloud only, so I can't show you this behavior in this session. But yeah, take my word for it. And I've added the link to the limitations of temporary access pass as they are stated on docs.microsoft.com today. Let's look at some of the use cases for temporary access pass. This could be used, as I said, for onboarding new employees into your organization. And the flow would look somewhat like this. We do have a new or existing employee. Said employee go through a kind of identity verification process, call your help desk, show your ID to your manager, I don't know, the identity verification process for basically getting a new password for your user, right? It could be showing up on your first day at work. You're issued a temporary access pass. The IT department or service desk will then text the temporary access pass to your new corporate mobile device. And you get this pass and the link for My Security Info, and you're ready to sign into Windows and Azure AD. Another use case for temporary access pass is the I forgot or lost my 2FA device, or as I recently did, I changed my work phone, so I had to re-register each and every one of my my authenticator apps, right? So in this case, as a existing employee, I go through the identity verification process once more. I'm issued a access pass, and I redeem the access pass in order to access my email or any other resource in Azure Active Directory. Right, let's look how to create a temporary access pass using PowerShell or Graph. We'll look at how to issue a temporary access pass using the portal right after this. So basically, what you want to do is you need to have the, let's just get rid of this. You need to have the Microsoft Graph PowerShell module installed on your computer, right? So once you're connected to Microsoft Graph and you select the beta APIs, because as I said, this is in public preview, so they're not in the V1 APIs. They're in betas. We can issue a temporary access pass for our user. Hold on. By using a string like this. So we do have the new MG user authentication temporary access pass method commandlet, which really rolls off your tongue, doesn't it? We specify the user ID. This could either be the GUID of the user or the UPN. We specify whether or not it's usable once or multiple times. And we specify the lifetime in minutes for this temporary access pass. So let's go ahead and create a tap for our user Cynthia here. Right, so this is created, and if we look into this variable which we created called tap and use the command format list, we can see the temporary access pass created here in our request response, basically. So if we take this response and we try to sign into our tenant with Cynthia, you can see we have the enter temporary access pass prompt for right in front of us here. So we just paste the temporary access pass here. As you can see, this is the same kind of text string that PowerShell presented us, ending with 4+, 4+. And here you see the difference between, as I said, with the seamless SSO sign-ins, instead of enter temporary access pass, it would say enter password. And you will have the link here that would instead say, and use your temporary access pass instead. So as Cynthia, let's try to sign in with this temporary access pass. There we go. And as Cynthia is in scope for a self-service password reset policy, she's prompted to add some details regarding self-service password reset. But in this demo, we're going to skip this and we'll be taken into the security info. Right here. So we can see we have a temporary access pass as a authentication method, which expires on August 25th. So let's go ahead and add a method. And in this case, we're going to use a security key to get our Cynthia onboarded into Azure Active Directory. Let me just see if I can find the USB port on my docking station. There we go. This is a USB device. Yeah, next. Right, let's continue the setup. We'll type the security pin. Oh, sorry. There we go. Touch the security key. And if we skip past this once more, we'll see that, give this a name, FIDO2 YubiKey. And just like that, we've signed into our Cynthia user using a temporary access pass. We've added a passwordless authentication method. And when Cynthia signs into Azure Active Directory next time, she'll only be able to, she'll only need to use her YubiKey, right? Let's toggle back to the PowerShell window. Let me just clear this. So as I said, we wanted to check whether or not we could see the temporary access pass for Cynthia, right? So we'll just paste this one in here, the same kind of tongue twister, get mg user authentication temporary access pass method. We specify a user ID, and we can see the ID, the created time, date time is usable once, lifetime in minutes, yada yada. If we format list this, as you can see here, we can't see the temporary access pass itself. We can only see that there is one issued to Cynthia, right? There's also a possibility to remove a temporary access pass for a user using PowerShell or Microsoft Graph. Same kind of tongue twister code comes into play here, but instead we call it remove. We specify a user ID, which in this case is my user Ben, and we want to remove the temporary access pass with this ID on him, right? So let's go ahead and complete that command. And if we look at previous command for Cynthia, we'll see, and we'll just change this one to Ben. There's no pass left, right? Let's take a look at how to do this in a portal. So we've configured all of our settings, our policies configured. Hang on. Our policies configured for a temporary access pass. We've been able to verify that it works using PowerShell, but let's take a look at how this works in the portal, right? So we head into our Azure Active Directory, go into our users, and as we can see here, we can also verify that Cynthia, under authentication methods, she has a temporary access pass added to her, and the FIDO2 security key that we added in the demo. But let's say that our user Ben, which we removed the temporary access pass for, he's in need of a new temporary access pass. So we want to add an authentication method for him. We select the temporary access pass. And as you can see here, since the policy states that it's only usable once, I can't edit this without editing the policy. Okay. We can also delay the start time for Ben's temporary access pass. And we can specify the activation duration. The maximum time limit of my policy was 8 hours, which converts to 480 minutes. But let's say that we want to give it a 1 hour temporary access pass, starting from now. So I add this to my user Ben. Here, the temporary access pass is provided to us directly in the portal. And the same kind of thing goes here, that we couldn't see it using PowerShell. Once I exit this window or this blade, I won't be able to see what the temporary access pass is without deleting this one and recreating it. So let's copy that to our clipboard. Okay. So we can see here that Ben has a temporary access pass, which is set to start at 2:30 p.m. In my time zone, and this is, based on what your time, what time zone you're in. That's the same kind of format that it's shown here, right? So let's head back to our window here with Cynthia and sign Cynthia out of this session. and instead we'll use Ben. And like that, we're signed in without having to use a password in any way, shape, or form. And as you can see, Ben already has a mobile number entered into his account, but he also has a temporary access pass. So that's basically how you do it. There is a third way for doing this, which is, of course, the Graph Explorer. So if we head on to this, aka.ms/ge, here we are. We need to have the object ID of the user in this case. So let's head back to our Azure AD portal, and we'll simply take David Longmuir. We'll copy his object ID and bring it with us into the Graph Explorer. So, right. We'll change the statement to post, and then we'll use this URL for the query. So here we have the object ID, which I need to recopy from this page right here. And this is basically all you need to do using the Graph Explorer. We change that one to beta as well. We press on Run Query, and we'll see that we've added a temporary access pass for David in this case. Same goes here. We get the temporary access pass in plain text in the response. And we can use that to sign in as David using our temporary access pass. So let me just sign out of Dave's sign in like that. And instead, we'll use David. Same goes here. We have temporary access pass. We sign in, skip for now, and we're in. So there you have it. The three main ways into creating a temporary access pass. As of today, we have the portal, we have the PowerShell one, which is basically the graph, right? And of course, we have the Graph Explorer option as well. Some things to remember for this feature is that administrators can create temporary access pass for users and other admins, but not for themselves. So in this case, when I was signed into my Azure tenant as a global administrator, I was able to generate temporary access passes for every one of my users, but I can't issue one for myself, right? Just let me showcase this for you guys. Oh, sorry, wrong window. Here we are. We're back in the Azure portal. Users. Let's take a look at my global administrator. I can't access this part here. I need to go through the access panel profile. So if I go back into the edit security info, you see I do have some, I have a mobile number, I have an authenticator app, I have a FIDO2 security key, but I can't add a temporary access pass for myself. I need to have another administrator do it for me, right? Another thing to remember is that you cannot read a temporary access pass once you closed the blade in the Azure portal. As I said, when you copy you need to remember to copy that temporary access pass. Otherwise, it's gone. The same goes for, as I shown you, the graph or PowerShell ways as well. It's a one and done kind of thing right now, much like when you're creating an application secret in app registrations in Azure, right? Since this is a pre-recorded session, I will not be able to answer any of your questions live. I'm actually off getting married today, so this is a pre-recorded session. But if you have any questions about temporary access pass, feel free to drop it on my Twitter page, which is listed here, or contact me on LinkedIn. And I also want to thank you all very much for coming to this session and listening to me ramble on about temporary access pass. And I think we can all agree that this is at least one of the keys for unlocking passwordless authentication. Also, big shout out and thank you to the sponsors of this event. And don't forget to rate this session. And that's it. Thank you so much for coming. And I'll see you sometime in the future. And remember, if you get an email from me saying that you want a YubiKey, don't be afraid. I won't try to ransomware you in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to get a hold of you so that I can send you the YubiKey after this event. And goodbye.